Right. Welcome to the second special edition of Sunday Night Fights. My guest today is an author of graphic novels, including one that's coming out in November. It's called Dial P for Peanuts. It is a story involving characters that might seem familiar in an Agatha Christie-esque mystery. Please welcome David Hayes.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm quite pleased to be here, and thank you for the not even. No one could sue you over that intro either. We're firmly in legal territory.
You know, as a Jewish comedian, the last thing I want to do is get sued. Especially since I'm a Jew with little to no money at this point in my life.
You know, oddly, of all the Jewish comedians I've met, none of them have much money. And I think that's just comedians I've met. None of them have much money.
No, it's a thankless job where sometimes you get paid $20 and chicken wings.
Oh no, I've been there. I gave up the life long ago.
Really? How long ago did you do comedy?
I was pretty active, I would say, back in my big-time acting career, you know, when I peaked with those two Lionsgate movies. So like 2006, 2007, I was touring pretty well, West Coast and Arizona.
Cool. What Lionsgate movies were you in?
Oh, God. So I've done about 70 films. Well, films, I'm air quoting. I don't know if we're podcasting. I'm air quoting.
Yeah.
And so they're mostly horror films. And for Lionsgate, we did Machined.
Okay. I've never heard of that one.
And then the sequel, Reborn.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, so I played Motorman Dan, the killer. And they also picked up a movie called Sport Kill, only for German and Japanese release. We had theaters in Japan. And they also picked up the sequel to Sport Kill, Orville, which only was shown in Brazil.
Weird.
Yeah. So like the people in Brazil who didn't get the original got the sequel.
I'm sure it's one of those movies that you just go in fresh.
You know, there was no marketing. No one would ever have heard of it before. It's crazy. The cool thing though is for Sport Kill is when we were in Japan, we bumped Hostel 2 out of the theaters, and because very limited theater space in Japan, and there was a nice billboard of my fat face.
Hold on. So first of all, that is awesome, but sad for Hostel 2, which I think is the better of the two Hostel films.
Well, after the first Hostel, I just wanted I went in wanting every character to die a horrible death, and I know that wasn't the intent. You know, I assume they wanted to build a little sympathy for them, but yeah. Oh, oof, yeesh.
I liked the first one because it was a good play on the idiots abroad type films where the Americans are going there to get laid and usually they have a good time, but this one, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. I mean, there's just the stupid. I mean, and I get it, I understand it, and I don't think that was what's his name?
Eli Roth.
I don't think that's what Roth was going for. I don't think he's that savvy and hip. You know, this is like when my students have metaphor after the fact. I think that's what happened on this one. He may have stumbled into a message.
Yeah. Don't go to Europe to get laid. Go to see the sights.
No doubt. And then so I ran into Eli Roth once at a convention, and it was early on. It was like Cabin Fever was hot. It was before Hostel came out, and we were in San Diego. We're doing San Diego Comic-Con, and I had sent a screenplay of mine to his company, and I got really positive feedback. They're like, "We can't use this right now, but it's gonna, please submit something else later." Before they went down, and it was right during the big Cabin Fever stuff. And so I walk up to him like, "Hey, I got some notes back from my screenplay that I sent to your company. Thanks." And all he heard was company and screenplay. And he said, "I don't deal with any of that." And he turned and he ran, and literally ran as fast as he could away from me.
Weird.
And that's also a metaphor for my career.
All right. That's sad, but at least you got people to read your screenplay.
Yeah, and we got some made. So that's good. So I did about 20 years. of doing bargain basement horror movies, writer, producer, director, all kinds of things. My last one just came out in April 2019, based off my graphic novel Rotten Tail. So yeah, still I'm not famous.
I'm guessing that's how you know Sean C. Phillips.
Sean C. Phillips. So I met Sean C. Phillips years ago via the internet. So like Facebook starts 2008, or even maybe it was MySpace, I don't know. And Sean Phillips was this kid who was driving around and flying around, like getting to be in whatever movie he could get into. And at that point, I had some sort of a horror street cred. So I was doing some conventions. The Lionsgate movies were there. We were ramping up on a couple things. I had some shot on video stuff that was pretty culty and doing okay, like Backwoods. It's been like 10 different video releases of that. And so he was messaging me online like, hey, when's your next production coming up? When can I be in there? And I was like, Sean, it's awesome. Glad you're a fan. We'll hook you up whenever we can. And it never worked like that. And then I think the one time I met him live was after he lost like a ton of weight, and I didn't recognize him.
I will give him credit for being in a bunch of B to Z level movies.
Man, he is persistent too. And so I do some writing for Diabolique magazine.
Great
and
magazine.
I love. And I did a retrospective, don't ask me why, of the Camp Blood films. So there's, they're all shot on video from Brad Sykes in the late 90s all the way to like the Polonias and Part 8. And Sean shows up and he's like the bright spot of these two films. So,
I didn't know they were still making the Camp Blood movies.
Oh, yeah, there's 8 Camp Blood. Last one came out this year.
Good for them. Good for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I also did a retrospective on Witchcraft, the longest running horror franchise with direct sequels at 16.
Yeah, but really only the first one was any good.
Oh, not even that one.
It was good.
They shot on film. I will give them that. And you have to be some level of craftsman to shoot on film and get an image to show up.
What year was that? That was like early 90s?
94, I think. 92, 94.
Yeah. I remember renting that from Thomas Video back in the day.
The video store. Oh, I love them.
I wish I was still in Michigan when they shut down, because I would have gone crazy buying shit.
I got rid of a bunch of movies just for space reasons, and I am a huge fan of streaming at this point, because the things I like we were talking about before we started, like there's no way that a Blu-ray release is going to make a shot on high 8 movie look any good at all.
No, but we're talking about this movie called Limbo, and it was like someone made a David Lynch movie on $500.
Mm-hmm.
But all the features of the making of, or seeing the director at the Alamo Drafthouse in Austin doing a Q&A, it's like, man, these people are finally getting their cred.
Yeah, it's really cool. I did another article on Black Devil Doll from Hell.
Love that movie.
You love that one? Chester Turner's?
And Tales from the Quatrain, or whatever.
Yeah, Tales from the Undead, the Quad Dead Zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just did an article on those two, looking, and it's so cool, because I'm planning on a book at some point of these shot on video pioneers. But that movie, it resonated, and I got a chance to talk to him. He's still around. I called his daughter, and I got to talk to him. And Tony Masiello at Shot on Video Horror did a little documentary on him, so he helped out. But that movie is like literally one of the only movies that shows middle class African American America in the 80s. It's not shown any other place, and it's just this horribly acted, wonderfully intentioned, just weird little movie that does things that nothing else does.
I think it was a movie no studio could ever have made.
Oh no, or would.
But I remember I bought the DVD when I was living in Seattle at Scarecrow Video. It was just on the shelf, and I'm like, Do I really want to spend $20 on this? Yes.
Well worth it.
It was. And then
Was that what that was that the what were they? They're out of Michigan. Not Unearthed Films who put it out.
I have no idea who put it out.
Because they did a box set of that in Quaded Zone.
I bought that one later on. After I found out Quaded Zone was the most valuable video tape around.
Right, and so if you watch the special features on the DVD, on this one I have, so they've got the star and Chester Turner, of course, the director, and they literally went video store to video store in only Illinois and Alabama and sold that. So if that's in a store, it's only on VHS in those stores.
Yeah, they were. I think it was the movie Rewind This. They were talking about it.
Yeah,
but we are getting way off track.
Sorry.
No. I love talking about this stuff, and I'm sure the whole conversation will kind of meander in and out of this. What was the first movie you ever saw in the theater?
First movie I ever saw in the theater. This was in the 70s, mind you. So pay no heed to the poor parenting. But I was 5, I believe, and my parents dropped me off at the re-release of Pinocchio.
By yourself?
Pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think it's tough to remember, but I think there were other families there too.
Okay.
But I distinctly that's the first movie I remember in the theaters. It was Pinocchio. It was like 70, 76, 77.
That makes sense. I think I saw it around that time too, when I was a wee little lad.
A wee little lad of 26.
Since I was a leap year baby, yes. And I'm not a leap year baby.
The first real movie I remember going to and like being excited for, it was 6. It was the next year, and my dad took me to Star Wars.
All right,
so I was that kid.
This is weird. I did not want to see Star Wars. My dad dragged me there. I saw the commercials, and I couldn't fathom going to like a movie based on what Luke Skywalker was wearing. I am not a fashion person at all, but I'm like, that looks stupid.
You're like, I don't know what fashion is, but I know what I don't like.
And then I walked out. I walked in the movie cool, and I walked out a nerd.
Oh yeah, that's what happened. I wanted to go. I desperately wanted to go and I didn't see it when it opened. It was out for a while, and I remember watching Mark Hamill's appearance on the Muppets.
I remember that.
And that's why I wanted to go. I wanted to. And that's, wow. My dad was also banned from taking me to the drive-in. So when I was 13, we went to go see Friday the 13th Part 3. And then he fell asleep for the secondary feature, which was John Cassavetes in Incubus.
I just saw that movie about a year ago.
Right, the 3.5 gallons of red semen that shows up, and they think it's a gang. 13-year-old me is like, so he was banned from the drive-in.
That's a much. I've only been to the drive-in like 3 times, and the first time it was a double feature of Jaws 3 and RoboCop. And
that's awesome.
I was on a date with this girl. I was hoping to get a hand job. Instead, I fell in love with RoboCop. And got no hand job.
Lasted longer than a hand job, I would assume.
Back then, yes.
Dead or alive, you are not coming on me.
No, but RoboCop was an amazing film. Jaws 3, not so much.
Yeah, Jaws 3 is like the Blackfish's spirit animal. I
mean, how the fuck does a family of a shark follow a family?
It's and I reserve my disdain really for Jaws the Revenge, the 4th one.
I never saw it.
Yeah, it's there's this Jamaican guy, I think it's Mario Van Peebles, and the shark is following what's Ellen Brody's wife, Ellen, from the original one.
Okay.
Well, she's in this one. She's hooking up with Michael Caine, and there's this Jamaican guy that I think is Mario Van Peebles, just saying, "The shark, no, the shark, no," because the shark is targeting his wife from 10 years prior.
Maybe it was Jaws 4 that I saw with RoboCop.
That would try. So now Jaws 3 was in 3D at an amusement park at like a SeaWorld.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember it. I'd have to double check the year, but
It would make sense that Jaws 4 would be with RoboCop because I think Jaws 3 was in '83 in the big 3D push.
Okay, then it would have been Jaws 4. When you mentioned Mario Van Peebles, it was like
the shark, no, the shark, no.
Oh, it's just so messed up that Jaws is such a good movie, and the franchise was just pretty much C films.
Right, and like even Jaws 2 is passable-ish.
Not really.
Well, it's got Brody.
Yeah, Roy Scheider was just like, "How much you paying me? All right, I'm in Jaws."
Yeah, Roy Scheider just came off of Blue Thunder at that point too, so I don't think he really cared.
I was at a comic convention when I lived in Birmingham, Alabama. I lived all over the place, and Gil Gerard was there. And for some reason, I thought he was in the movie Blue Thunder. And I was talking about it. You're like, oh, that was not me. I'm like, are you sure?
So he wasn't Jaffo. He was like Jabber, just another Buck Rogers just hanging out there. I did a great panel of like with Buck Rogers. I did a panel with Aaron Gray. And I don't know, it was me, the producer of Arrested Development, who was one of the screenwriters of Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell, and Aaron Gray, who was in Jason Goes to Hell. So I had no idea why I was there. And she told this awesome story of when Jason Goes to Hell. She was at the premiere watching the movie, and she falls down, and this little Jason Voorhees baby fetus thing runs back up inside her because she played, the mother of somebody, and it wasn't her legs or anything in the shot. And she was shocked when she saw it. And I said, "Oh, Aaron, that's a horrible story. But I tell you what, if you're ever in one of my films, I promise never to shove a fetus up in you without telling you." And she stared at, she like just arrowed daggers into me for the rest of the panel.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's awesome. I don't have an Aaron Gray story.
Yeah, that's my one and only one for obvious reasons. There was no recurring Aaron Gray stories.
All right, I'm gonna do one more celebrity story before I get into it. Do you remember the show Emergency?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was on a plane flying back from LA to here, and I was sitting next to Randolph Mantooth, Johnny Gage.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there. I'm just so excited, and I'm like, I need to talk to him, but he looks busy, and. And I'm like, eventually I just said, I'm so excited to be sitting next to Johnny Gage. And he did not want to talk to me.
No.
Because, I'm sure he runs into emergency fanboys all the time.
I don't know. I mean, when was this? Because I think you're a dying breed at this point.
It was, I think, 2007.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're 13 years out. It's the death knell for the emergency fanboys.
But we started talking. I asked him where he was going. He's like, I'm catching a flight to Philadelphia. I'm going to a paramedics convention. And I'm like, why? He goes, well, I'm a paramedic. I mean, I'm licensed to be one. And I'm like, that is art, imitating art.
That's beyond method. You've given up your film career to be a paramedic.
But he was cool. He gave me his card, and I lost it over the years. I was going to call him up.
Just hang out like, hey,
remember Johnny Gage, I'm in LA. Remember me? We sat on a flight. I'm your fan. We should be best friends.
Do it. I mean, I sweated all over Quinn, and he remembers me.
Oh, you sweated all over who?
David Quinn.
Yeah, but it's the people who love Faust, Love of the Damned, are a small but vocal audience.
It's not small in girth. but small in number.
I still want that series to get a proper movie.
I do. I first I wanted to get a big hardcover trade edition is what I want first.
They should do that.
I keep asking.
Eventually, it'll happen. I mean, a lot of books are getting collected these days.
They are, and so I mean, like the comic adaptation thing is huge. I mean, so I did the Rotten Tail graphic novel, and that was made. It came out this last April of 2019, and the strangest comic books are getting movies now. It's just the thing. It's the in thing. So
Well,
let's hope.
I was talking to a friend of mine who's an investor, and he was saying that AT&T should drop DC Comics, and I'm like, that's the dumbest thing in the world, because DC could be where all their intellectual properties are generated.
Hmm.
Don't use it for a publishing company. Use it to test out franchises.
Yeah, I mean that's a. I mean, you can keep the publishing company because it's going to stay in profit for at least the time being. But they have, I mean, the intellectual properties that DC has far outweigh the Marvel ones. As popular as Iron Man and Captain America and these things are, the Superman symbol is like the second most recognizable symbol in the world.
Yeah,
It's deep.
and I mean with shows like Doom Patrol and Stargirl that
Hmm.
are amazing. Those are characters that never really would get their due at Marvel or any other publisher.
Right? Did you see the Swamp Thing series?
I did. I loved it, and I'm hoping
I
that.
loved it. My nerd street cred is I have every Swamp Thing comic appearance ever,
Oh wow.
including cameos and stuff. That's where I spend my time, to let you know.
Well, beside the Ellen Moore run, what is your favorite run?
That new 52 run.
The Scott
It
Snyder?
was what's that?
Scott Snyder's run on the book?
Yeah, Scott Snyder and Yannick Paquette. That was solid. That was solid.
I think that run was great, and I thought Nancy Collins did a really good run on there.
She did. And that's when it got really a lot more horror-y and a little mystical. I'm still a sucker for the Len Wein and Wrightson in the
That
70s too, though.
I mean, that stuff was great. There wouldn't be an Alan Moore run without that.
There wouldn't. Oh, want me to dig out my House of Secrets?
No,
92.
maybe afterwards.
I like showing it. Oh, it's like my version of a dick pic. I just show my House of Secrets to people that don't care.
No, I care. I mean, first appearance of Swamp Thing.
It is.
Yeah. So let's do it. Let's start this.
All right.
Five movies that inspired you, or
5 movies that inspired me. Oddly enough, you're probably not going to be surprised. These are mostly going to be horror movies.
awesome.
They shape me. Favorite movie number one of all time has influenced everything I've ever done as far as image and blocking is concerned. John Carpenter's Halloween.
A near perfect horror film.
Near perfect. The only imperfections are those that were just solely outside of his control and budgetary.
But still, he did so much with so little. I mean, he gave us the shape
Mm-hmm.
and the origin. Just the little kid with the knife at the beginning after he killed his sister and her boyfriend.
I mean, there's lots of pieces in that are they're pulled from like the Italian giallo films. You know, the Bavas, like Deep Red. I think is a wonderful movie.
I agree.
And then the stuff that came after even, but it's so quiet, and it's so it's not even a slow burn. And the best part about it is most people that have seen it once, maybe twice, think it's incredibly gory, and it's not.
Compared to other horror films.
No, it's really there's very little blood.
No,
There's
I know,
little.
but from the point what 19 that came out in 79.
78, yeah.
It changed everything about horror films.
It did, and so I mean, there's as a a faux film academic, I love the slasher films because I grew up in there, and then Halloween was this thing that started that for me. And I'm always like, hey, you know, the slasher film is really about American consumerism in the late 70s, early 80s with this insatiable need. You know, we can never get enough. It's just stupidness. But just I appreciate so much in Halloween what they did with so little. And it's pure cinematic craftsmanship that drives that and nothing else, you know. And Donald Pleasance is absolutely amazing. We've got a dog that we're getting, and they let me name them, and I'm naming the dog Lonnie because I'm always saying, Lonnie, get your ass away from there. And it's like my favorite thing to say.
Have you ever seen Halloween in the theater?
I have not.
Probably about, I think, 8 or 9 years ago, I saw it with some friends. They were doing a revival showing at AMC.
Oh,
And it was one of, in my opinion, one of the best film going experiences I've ever had. Because
man,
there were a
that'd be
bunch
so
of
great.
people in there who'd never seen it before. And their reaction to it.
It's amazing. I was teaching, this is at least 10 years ago, this community college film class. And, it's 10 years ago. So, they're all jaded. And it's just, if it's not new and fancy and flashy, it was like peak Transformers season. And I showed them as an example of lighting design and camera work, Halloween, and they were enthralled, just enthralled. So 10 years ago, a bunch of 17 and 18-year-olds couldn't turn away from it.
And I think one of the reasons why the movie is so simple. There's
Mhm.
the explanation. Okay, he killed his sister and her boyfriend. He's crazy. He escaped and is on a rampage.
Yeah.
While I liked the Rob Zombie remake, there was
Oh,
too much explanation up front.
I saw that in the theater and literally fell asleep.
I appreciate what he did, that he took everything that came before it and tried to make a cohesive film. It was it Halloween? No. But was it better than 4, 5, 6, H2O, and the one that
4 was great.
I don't know. I thought 1 and
Yeah.
2 were really good, and I have a soft spot for 3.
Oh, 3's wonderful. 3's a wonderful film. It made the marketing mistake, but I think 3 is great. It's a tragic story. It's bleak. It's nihilism at its finest. Tom Atkins is genius in it.
But then they made the mistake of calling it a Halloween film.
Yeah.
And I know John Carpenter wanted the series to be a different story every year, but the producer said Michael Myers makes money, exploding masks and other things won't.
Right, and I think that that may have worked if 3 was the second one.
Maybe, but
If they wouldn't have made a franchise, if 3 would, if they, instead of making number 2, they would have made 3. I think that whole yearly anthology thing would have worked.
Maybe, or it might have been, all right, let's go back to Michael Myers for 3.
Could be. It could be. I think but in order to have a franchise, there has to be a second one.
Yes.
So, and I like 2. 2 is not my favorite. It's got some flaws. It's obviously Carpenter free is at the helm, and we can tell.
But out of all the horror movies, it's the only one that continued on with the same night.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Until I think Wreck did it.
Right. Well, there was other stuff. And I can't think of it, but yeah, it's one of the very first ones that picked up right where things left off. So that was a really good seamless thing, and I think that's a large part of why it worked. It was more gruesome. Part 2 was the addition at that point of Laurie Strode as the sister. Iconic in terms of how it lasted and what it did for a franchise. Kind of ham-handed and created tons of plot holes from the first one.
I don't think people thought about that back then. It was like,
we didn't. I didn't see the second one in the theater either. I was too young to get in legally. And I didn't get to go. No one drove me, so there's no way I could get there. But I when I saw that one, I was enthralled again because the music was back, Jamie Lee Curtis was back, The Shape was back, the corpse of Ben Tramer was back. It was wonderful.
it was, and every Halloween, or right around Halloween, I watched 3 movies: Halloween 1, Halloween 2, and Fulci's The Beyond.
Fulci's The Beyond. I really enjoy The Beyond. And that's part of his 7 Gates of Hell series, right?
Yes.
So I mean, it never really happened, but it was going to be sort of.
Yeah, with that.
Fulci is a guy that I have to be in a mood for.
Yes. All of his other films except for The Beyond and sometimes Zombie.
Oof, oof. If I'm gonna bust a Fulci out, you're gonna think I'm weird. It's gonna be Gates of Hell
That's a good one. I mean, it's
or House by the Cemetery.
oh, that kid just annoys the crap out of me.
I love that the kid's dub. It's so good. But it's me, you see.
That movie makes no sense. Visually, I love it, but it makes no fucking sense.
Of course it doesn't. It's Fulci. It doesn't have to make sense.
Even The Beyond doesn't make sense, but the last sequence is so visually stunning.
I would agree. I think that if I'm going to get into Fulci, I'm going to go in full meltdown mode and watch that priest barf up his intestines.
I think Scorpion just re-released that movie.
Wow, I know that some guys did a graphic novel of it too. One of Zombie and one of Gates of Hell.
Huh? I'll have to look for those.
Yeah, I haven't found them in any place normal, probably because no place normal would carry them.
The only comic store I really go to is Green Brain, and I haven't been there since before the pandemic because we used to put on a monthly show in their basement.
You know what you need to do is go to Green Brain and say you want Dial P for Peanuts, and have them bring it in.
I will talk to Dan and Katie and say
It's available via Diamond's previews.
And I will tag them in this episode.
Yeah. I'm also available for signings. I'll go anywhere.
As long as it's drivable.
I don't want to fly.
No one wants to fly these days.
No, so yeah, this COVID thing put a crimp in everything. We were the Source Point Press is a company I work with, and they were doing like 35 shows a year at conventions with different teams, and I did about 15 a year. And yeah, it's ground to a halt.
It's crazy. It feels like this pandemic we're in the mind of some kid who was writing a horror screenplay, and then he got bored to go watch Golden Girls, and the whole world is just waiting for something to happen.
That makes perfect sense. And when he comes back, it's going to be a complete tonal shift, and we're going to find ourselves in a giant retirement community.
And hopefully it's a musical as well.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah. But a cool rap musical because he liked Hamilton so much.
Have you seen Anna and the Apocalypse?
No.
It's on. I think it's streaming on Hulu or Amazon. It's the best British zombie musical comedy.
I can go for that.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. What will be your second pick?
Oh, second pick. So 1981 is like a perfect year because I love werewolves.
Okay.
And it had American Werewolf in London, The Howling, Wolfen, and Full Moon High all in the same year, and a Naschy werewolf movie. I think Fury of the Wolfman, all in 81. And The Howling is one of the most morbidly visually stunning movies with the greatest theme of self-help will screw you in the ass if you allow it. That I thought it was beautiful. I thought The Howling from 81 encapsulated it, and I may or may not still have a crush on Dee Wallace.
The Howling is a near perfect werewolf movie.
Yeah.
First of all, just the opening sequence with her in the adult bookstores, phenomenal.
You don't even know it's a werewolf movie, and you need to take a shower after this thing. Dante did such a wonderful job with it.
He did. And again, it had a perfect cast. Patrick Macnee is the head of the self-help group.
Right. John Carradine as the werewolf that's so old and just wants to die and he can't. This is awesome.
The guy from the A1 steak sauce commercials.
What was that? Who's that?
He was the redheaded guy who is also a werewolf.
Oh.
He's a character actor, but back then all I knew him was from the A1 steak sauce commercials.
Oh, you go to a lot of Ponderosas, son.
I just like steak sauce.
And then Christopher Stone.
Yeah, as her husband.
And real life husband at the same time.
And the sex scene with him and that one chick was probably one of the hottest.
When they wolf out and the animate, yeah. Oh yeah.
least for young Robert, who'd never seen anything like that back then.
Young David was thinking the same thing and wondering, whoa, were they together? They were doing it when they wolfed out.
And again, the last scene where she is turning on national or whatever local television.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that for some reason gets overshadowed by American Werewolf in London.
I think it does, and I think unfairly, because American Werewolf in London, it's a good film. It's very good. Landis did a wonderful job. It's a progenitor of the horror comedy, and it works really well. It's a different type of story, though. I think The Howling is far more visceral. It's more animalistic, and I think it's more indicative of what a werewolf movie should be.
And it's fun.
Yes. Oh, Robert Picardo menacing the best friend in the picking the brain out because of course you can't die. I'm going to show you. Oh, it's great.
Again, it's weird that it's not weird that and all the spin-offs of that movie pretty much suck.
Every single one of them. It's not even pretty much. From Reb Brown and Christopher Lee in Howling 2, Your Sister is a Werewolf. Howling 3, The Marsupials. Oh, that was a wonderful thing.
Was that the one Brian Trenchard Smith directed, or was that 4?
He wrote 3. He directed 4, 5, and 7, I believe.
Okay. I'm a big fan of Brian Trenchard Smith.
No, he did 3. The guy that wrote it, long-haired British guy, can't act, cast himself in everything. I'll think of the name. Because ironically, I'm editing and putting together a werewolf film encyclopedia that's going to be out next year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's called Moonlight Marquee, and it's 2021 is the 40th anniversary of The Howling. It is the 60th anniversary of Curse of the Werewolf, and it is the 80th anniversary of The Wolfman.
Wow. John Howe.
John Howe. Okay. Yep.
Hold on. It's the 60th anniversary of The Wolfman?
No, it's 2021 will be 80th anniversary of The Wolfman. Okay. 60th anniversary of Curse of the Werewolf from Hammer Films.
And that's the Oliver Platt.
Oliver Reed.
Oliver Reed, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then it's going to be the 40th anniversary of the Year of the Wolf in 81.
I look forward to the book.
Yeah, it's good. It's going to be pretty massive. It's about 500 pages. We're already around 400 or 500 entries. If there's a werewolf in the film, it gets an entry. So it runs the gamut of all kinds of different things.
Will Naschy get his own chapter?
Naschy, all of his entries are in there, and then there's a wonderful Naschy retrospective and a Lon Chaney retrospective in there. We've got interviews from some cool interviews. We've got a Joe Dante interview, Fred Decker, who wrote Monster Squad and directed Monster Squad, and all kinds of like lower B level and D level and C level things. But it's going to be as comprehensive as possible.
You know, it'd be cool. First of all, if movie theaters are open when your book comes out. Have you ever been to the Film Lab in Hamtramck?
No.
It's this wonderful micro cinema. To actually get a Naschy retrospective going on there.
Oh, that's very cool. So we found a really cool Naschy film that it hasn't been dubbed in English yet or translated, and it is Mark of the Devil, I think, something with the devil, Night of the Devil, and it's Naschy playing a Naschy-esque character. Like he's an old film guy, and he reprises all of his famous characters to talk to this kid's son, to talk to his son in the son's dreams. It's so bizarre. Howl of the Devil.
I hope someone releases that here.
Yeah, I saw it on YouTube, and I fought through my horrible Spanish to get the gist of it, just so we could get the entry in. But yeah, it needs a nice, big, cleaned up, beautiful thing.
Hopefully, some of my friends on this page who work for Vinegar Syndrome will listen to that.
Wink, wink, hint, hint.
Because you've already released one Naschy film.
If I could pick another one for Naschy, I would like to see, and I know that these things get a lot of crap, but he did a Lycantropo later on. And he's playing, Daninsky again, and he's in his, I believe, late 60s, early 70s. It's Spanish language, and it's shot on video, but it's a nice little send-off that I don't think enough people saw, with him finally dying as Voldemort Daninsky.
Huh. I had no idea that existed.
Yeah, it was after the Fred Olen Ray run that he got paid for. He also did a couple of werewolf movies where he's only credited as werewolf, and they hired him to be the Daninsky character. There's a Mexican comedy, and it was like an Abbott and Costello comedy, and something Il Monstros, Casa del Monstros, I believe, where there's a vampire and a mummy, and then Daninsky. And when he saw the cut, he said, "No, it's just werewolf. You're not going to sully Valdemar Daninsky with this movie." And it's the same makeup he did himself. It's beautiful.
I'll have to check that one out too. But I'm really excited about that book. I love werewolf movies.
Oh, me too. And there's a big team that's working on it, and they're killing it.
And that's coming out when next year?
It's we're going to run a Kickstarter in the early part of the year to fund hardcover printing. I don't want a soft cover or anything. I want it only hardcover, and it'll probably be closer to Halloween where it's released in 2021.
I will definitely, if you want to get your team together, I would love to have you on the Sunday Night Fights to actually talk about the best werewolf movies of all time.
Oh, we'll do it. We'll totally do it. And so some of these things that we'd have to sit through, man, like Weed Wolf, 2011's Weed Wolf, or Lycanimator. It just there's some horribleness out in the world.
Please tell me you watched the Wolf Cop movies.
Oh yeah, Wolf Cop and another Wolf Cop. Totally. We watched Bubba the Redneck Werewolf, which
that one. That sounds genius.
It's based off a comic book. It's another one of those things that hit the lottery. There's so many. There's the Polonia brother, or not the brothers. John Polonia has got a couple of werewolf movies. Todd Sheets from the Z Grade stuff. There's so much out there. There's Lon Chaney's grandson did a movie called House of the Wolfman.
I don't want to see it.
You don't. You really don't.
I've been digging through the Al Adamson film library.
Ooh, that's hard. That's tough.
There's some good stuff in there, but I've never really heard of him, and I ordered the box set that Severin put out
because it's what people do.
But my collector mentality is like, all right, I enjoy most of the Severin stuff, and I watched the documentary, and I'm like, this guy is fascinating. His story is more fascinating than his films.
Oh yeah, by far.
And then I realized I've seen a bunch of them before under some different names, and I'm like, all right, this is good to drink a couple beers and maybe pop an edible and watch double feature of Frankenstein, Dracula.
My family largely hates when I get to choose things because it's just going to be some Z grade schlock, and they know it.
My friends are the same way. They're like, no, we're going to go see something good.
We're going to skip today. So speaking of your friends, forcing your friends to watch things, I'm going to tell you what my number 3 is.
I would love to hear.
Can TV movies count?
Yes. Okay.
Imagine young David, maybe young Robert at the same time. It's October 31st in 1978. And the CBS, was it CBS? Maybe it was ABC. The ABC TV movie was Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park.
As my old roommate would say, that was the decisive moment of every Gen X kid in the 70s.
It was, and it shaped everything for me. So what that did, and I was a huge comic book fan as a kid, I still am, and horror movies were my thing, and I liked Kiss's music only because they were putting on a show. Even it's just like the 8-track I had of Love Gun. There was a show on the front, and it was wonderful. And so this movie, as horrible as it was, Anthony Zerbe chewing up the scenery, it is just cram-packed full of all kinds of awesome goodness. It's at Six Flags in California. We didn't have a Six Flags in Michigan, so it's just magical.
That's why it's called Magic Mountain.
That's true. It had Brian James, who is in everything at that point.
And the villain, and I think you might have mentioned his name, Dr. Shrinker from the Croft Super Chef.
Yep, Anthony Zerbe.
Yeah.
And so it was great. That right there, sitting there enthralled. The TV movie shaped me just in general. Kolchak the Night Stalker was wonderful, and the Night Strangler, but that was the one that showed me that anything can happen. You know, that really kind of set this off. And I had a bunch of friends watch this recently, and they're just cursing me, just cursing my name as we just stumble through this
Why?
movie.
Again, I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but
It's
I
different.
just imagine it being a cinematic masterpiece.
It is in terms of like 7-year-old me. It doesn't hold up well, but it's so nostalgic for me. It's very slow. I mean, the first 40 minutes are just you in the park hanging out.
So it's like an Al Adamson film.
It's kind of like an Al Adamson film, and you're building up, and you know these wonderfully delicate animatronics that Anthony Zerbe has created is just they're really just put, you know, Chuck E. Cheese. If you ordered it through Wish, is what you've got at this point, and it's it was really a terrible film. I did love the climactic battle where the animatronic Kiss has to fight the real Kiss. That was good.
I need to see it again. I know it
Yeah.
was I believe it was like re-released on DVD or Blu-ray in a Kiss box set, but I don't think it ever came out separately.
No, it didn't, because they're pretty ashamed of it until Gene Simmons figured out he could monetize it, and they did a graphic novel sequel to it.
Good for them.
Yeah, Return of the Phantom.
You said something that kind of I agree with. The movie of the week, which doesn't exist anymore.
Mm.
I mean, we got The Day After.
Oh my gosh, The Day After.
My favorite one, Bad Ronald.
Bad. That messed me up.
It should not have been on television.
It shouldn't. Like Duel, Spielberg's Duel.
That was made for TV?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Wow. Yeah. I mean, again, when cable didn't really exist, you had 3 networks, and that was like you sat around the TV to watch an original movie.
Right, and it was. I mean, at that point, it was destination programming, and that's the bad part about streaming too. It's really killed destination programming, where people, you know, get together and they have the water cooler conversations. Those don't exist anymore. But The Day After, oh my god, that messed me up.
I recently rewatched it because they put it out on Blu-ray, and they put out that and Threads around the same time.
Threads, I just watched that recently for the first time.
I was probably 10, 11 when that came out. 12, I don't remember.
Yeah, that was a British one, and then they showed it in the U.S. after.
And yeah, they showed it on TBS or TNT, and that movie gave me nightmares for a week. I was convinced a nuclear war was going to happen, and
yeah, we all were. Like in the Trilogy of Terror. Oh man, that was a great one.
That little creature still freaks me out. I can't rewatch that film.
Oh, the Zuni fetish doll.
Yeah. That and Critters are 2 series. The creatures just
nice critters.
But no, it's sad that the made-for-TV movie doesn't exist, but it kind of still does. Like Stranger Things, that would have been a TV movie of the week.
It would have been concentrated, but yeah.
For me, the original series was
when Diana ate that rat or whatever. Nightmares, weeks.
Yep. But if you watch it today, it looks like crap.
It does. That introduced the world to a young Robert Englund.
Yes, who went on to be typecast as Freddy Krueger for many, many years.
Who doesn't mind collecting all the checks at all for many, many years.
All right, I have to ask: Is Nightmare anywhere on your list?
It's not on my top 5. It's not in the 5 shapers, but it was a massive influence.
Beside the first one, which other one is your favorite?
This is going to be weird, and I think I may be tainted because I just watched Scream Queen, the Mark Patton documentary. So number 2 is holding this little place in my heart.
2 made no sense.
No, it made no sense. But I think I've looked at it again with fresh eyes. So Mark Patton, who played Jesse in there, the poor gay kid that get maligned, and he did a documentary on how his career basically ended after that, and he got AIDS and he survived, and it was a coming to terms with his past sort of thing, and called Scream Queen. Highly recommended. I think it's on Shudder. And that, looking at that and then watching this thing, it's like this. It was a plan. There was no gay subtext to that movie. It was just text, and I don't think the world was ready.
Well, the scene where he ends up at the leather bar and the coach is there. Oh, I'm gonna make you go run laps. What the fuck?
Right, in the documentary, the director's like, I didn't see that in the script. I didn't get that tone of it from the script. And they're like, you were literally in an S&M gay bar, and then you whipped the coach to death with hot towels in the shower.
I mean, look, even when I saw it the first time when I was a kid, I'm like, this is a little bit of gay. Nothing wrong with it, but
it is. I mean, prior to Scream Queen, I probably would have said New Nightmare is my next favorite one.
That's my favorite after the first one.
Yeah,
I love meta films.
And those two are quintessential Craven films. Everything in between is a poor imitation of him.
Well, just the first one ended perfectly with the ambiguous ending of, did Nancy and the crew, they were stuck in a dream.
Mm-hmm.
That one starts with them in the midst of a dream, and you knew it was a dream because you saw Robert Englund as the bus driver.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, they bought the house. The house is cursed. Nancy's in a mental hospital, which is kind of contradicted when the third one came out.
Right. Well, she got out. People get better, Robert. It is not, your take on mental health, I think, is skewed.
No. I mean, she was, if I recall correctly, she was a doctor in the third one.
She was. Yeah. When you're in the state pen for being psycho, you can get a PhD.
It's like it was like they were just fueled by coke and having to get these movies out by a certain date.
I think they were. I mean, but it was a juggernaut at that point. There was the Freddy 900 numbers. There was the Freddy's Nightmares TV show,
which was good.
It was solid. It was better than Tales from the Dark Side for sure.
Tales from the Dark Side was good, and it was way better than the Friday the 13th series.
Yeah, I like the conceit of the Friday the 13th series, where these people have to go. I mean, it turned out to Warehouse 13 essentially. The sci-fi show, but the conceit that they have to go collect these things, these cursed objects. I like that. It was kind of ham-handed, especially because that younger dude lead guy was so annoyingly offensive. But I kind of had a crush on the other girl.
But all they could have done was call it something else.
They did. So maybe they ran into the same issue that Halloween 3 ran into. They branded poorly.
Yes. Freddy's Nightmares at least had Freddy Krueger in there as the Rod Serling type character.
That is true. So it would have been great to have Jason Voorhees just stand there to introduce each episode.
Or his mom. His mom could have.
Or just his mom's head. Hold it
up. All right. Well, what is number 4?
Number 4. A little scene film from 1983 in Canada called Extra.
I think it's the best hybrid boy alien movie ever made.
It also features the greatest full-size man being born from someone's scene in history.
I haven't seen that movie since it was on cable.
Yeah, so the way I saw this one is 83. I'm 12, so probably 14. My parents rented it because they were going away. I'm 14. I could stay home. They were going to be back that night, so I'm okay during the day. This is in the 80s, so of course, all bets are off. And they leave movies that I can watch. They thought I would like based on the covers, and they knew me at that point, which was cool. So I put in Extra, and I am shaking, scared. I'm afraid of aliens. I'm afraid of grown men being born out of people. It was the first time I'd ever seen full frontal nudity, and that full frontal nudity was stretched out and destroyed when a man came out of that vagina. it was horrific to me. And so I mean, I think that's probably the thing that got me interested in pushing boundaries in terms of my own horror work. And yeah, it was a mess.
That's something that horror and sci-fi did really well. It pushed boundaries. I mean, Alien. Up
Oh,
until then, there was nothing like that.
yeah, and just some real B stuff that no one took seriously. That was slick, and it was scary, and it was a horror film. Alien is a horror film.
Yeah, and Alien was one franchise that pivots with every picture they've done.
Good effect. I mean, I liked Alien 3. I'm that weird one that liked the prison planet.
I thought it was a great premise. I think the writing on it was shoddy, and I found out that they were writing as they were filming.
Oh, yeah, I've done that. If you ever stumble across a horrible vampire movie called Shower of Blood, I was literally handing pages over my shoulder that they were shooting out in the scenes.
Oh God. I'm gonna, when this goes live, I'm actually gonna put some trailers of your movies at the end of this.
Lucky everyone.
Because
Good for them.
while you're my second guest, you are also the most prolific filmmaker I've had on this.
Set that bar low because
Unless you made porn, the bar is higher than porn.
bar is now high.
and
it's not.
And you've made more movies than Tracy Lords.
No.
I mean, technically, she's only made one. I don't know how many she's made, but
she's in tons of stuff.
I'm talking about from her porno days.
Well, one legal one.
I've been listening to this really good podcast called Once Upon a Time in the Valley, and this woman who's a reporter or writer for Vanity Fair, and Ashley West, who runs a really good website called The Rialto Report, covers the entire story from every friggin' angle possible.
Oh, that's cool.
And the big question they were trying to ask was who ratted her out.
She ratted herself out. That's what I think.
They don't believe it. Or one of them believes she did, but one of them believes it wasn't her.
My theory is her, and then she produced the last one, so she owns the only Tracy Lords adult film.
Well, there was another producer who found out she was underage but did the math wrong, and he figured his movies would have been the two legal ones, and to get all the other ones off the shelf and to get rich. One of the theories was he's the person who ratted her out.
This being an American conspiracy, getting the math wrong, that's on brand. So.
And you know what? She actually had a really good career. She's one of maybe the only one beside Greg Dark who made the transition out of that.
Yeah, she did a really good job with it. I just watched a crazy movie with her and Ted Raimi, of all people.
Oh, Skinner.
Skinner, yeah. That was whack. I loved it. And
Ricky Lake.
Ricky Lake, yeah. Tracy Lords did better than Ricky Lake, and Ricky Lake never did porn.
And they both did John Waters films.
They did, yeah. Crybaby and Hairspray.
Yeah.
I would love to do a John Waters film.
I met him at Mel's in Los Angeles.
John Waters film is my number 5.
All right, let's get to it. All right.
Desperate Living.
Oh God. Oh God.
Yeah, Desperate Living. And so young Dave was not as young when he saw this one. It was 1990, and I was in an alternative cinema class at Michigan State University. And this is back before universities could get shut down for showing Desperate Living. And our instructor the week before had shown us a bunch of Kenneth Anger stuff. Okay. So Scorpio Rising, men are like mating with the ground. It's just ridiculously stupid stuff. groundbreaking, but stupid. And then he shows us Desperate Living with no preamble. There's nothing. It just drops us in the middle of this. And I am absolutely enthralled. I had known nothing about John Waters up until that point. Nothing. I had known nothing about Trash's art. And the travails of Mink Stole as Peggy Gravel and Griselda, her incredibly large maid in Mortonville. It was magical. It was like watching a desperately horrible, bad taste community theater production. And I fell in love. I fell in love instantly with it. And if anything, all these things leading up to number 5, this is the one that said, "Oh, you can do this, you big dumb asshole. You can do anything." You know, as Mink Stole is like got her face buried, actually going down on Griselda, and she's screaming, "Hit it, Peggy! Hit it!" George Stover in his underwear. What more could you ask for?
So I probably saw it around the same time you did, and my roommates rented it, and they're like, "Oh, you'll love John Waters," and that movie kind of grossed me out.
Oh yeah,
where I couldn't see a John Waters film for a while, and
really?
I think Hairspray was the first one I saw since then, because this was his, his second mainstream film.
Yeah, you waited till they went legit.
I've since gone back and have watched all of them, but I needed probably someone to warn me of what I was about to see.
Yeah, I didn't have the warning either. I think we reacted in different ways. Mainly probably because I'm a deviant. I don't know. It could be. But I absolutely fell in love, and I went on a hunt for John Waters stuff after that. I ended up I got Pink Flamingos was easy to find at that point. Polyester was pretty easy to find. I dug up, and I moved to Chicago after college, and I was working at a Starbucks on the north side, and there was a video store there that I don't remember the name of, but it was wonderful.
There were a bunch of good video stores there.
Oh, there's a great one. And I was in Andersonville Video. Oh, there we are.
Actually, that's where I bought the movie Dance Craze. It's a ska concert film of all the two-tone bands.
Okay.
They had it there, and one of the employees there dubbed it for me, and sold me a copy.
Nice. The malfeasance of the video store owners. But I was there, and I scored a copy of Multiple Maniacs.
Which is a good film.
Oh, it's great. The whole scene with Divine raping herself. It's tough to verbalize. The Rosary Job with Mink Stole, and but Desperate Living is the one that set it off. Just set it off for me.
And look, I think John Waters is a great filmmaker. He had a vision that thankfully no one else had at that time.
No one. Maybe like Al Adamson, bringing him back up. He kind of like tripped into that kind of vision.
Yeah, I don't think he had a vision. I think he just wanted to make movies and give a rat's ass about what he put on film.
Yeah, and I think it's easy for someone to equate John Waters to that when there's really much more thought behind it.
John Waters had talent. Al Adamson had a crew.
And there we are.
But, I mean, going back to Al Adamson, there's a movie he made called, one of the titles was Blazing Stewardesses. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the ones I saw probably on videotape. And because I remembered the Ritz Brothers sequence of them eating a sandwich. And at that point, I tried to dig up everything I could on the Ritz Brothers and found nothing. Their stuff is not out there like the Stooges or Laurel and Hardy. Or
really? I never looked, but that would track.
But now John Waters, though, I think he was able to pivot from underground films to going legit, and he never lost a beat.
He didn't, and he didn't change his themes either. There's still Pecker and Cecil B. Demented. Even Hairspray is about about the other and the ostracizing people, and the presentation isn't as graphic and disturbing and intending to gross the audience out, but the themes and the message are still largely the same.
I mean, you got to hand it to him that with Hairspray, which I think was probably his most successful film in the 80s,
Yeah.
that it starred a transvestite.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a critical and I believe a somewhat commercially acclaimed.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a big commercial success for what it was too. You know, a musical in the '80s about the '50s with the unknowns starring a transvestite. These qualifications mean zero box office to most people.
And then it went on to be a huge Broadway smash and
Yep.
remade with John Travolta in the divine role.
Right. You know, I always said like I would get back. I wouldn't do it anymore, but I retired as an actor, and like there's two roles that I would come back for. One is in a biopic of George the Animal Steele. As a huge wrestling fan and a former professional wrestler, I would take that one on. And
hold on, rewind. You were a former professional wrestler?
Oh yeah, briefly. And then I did that for a while. And then I ended up doing more color commentary and ring announcing work after my knees got bad.
Who did you wrestle for?
There was in the Southwest, it was X Jam and EXW, and the biggest thing we had was an early internet TV show.
Okay.
In like 2010, 2011. But yeah, I got beat up by some great people, like Scotty Norton from the New World Order and Over the Top.
Good for you.
Yeah, he's stiff. That did not feel good.
I tried going to wrestling school when I lived in Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, that's like church there.
I wanted to be a manager,
mm-hmm.
And then they told me I had to take a bump, and I'm like, not being a manager.
Yeah, so I got pretty lucky. So I traded some of my movie street cred to start working in that stuff, and the character is Joe Brony. And I never won. The gimmick was 0-1,000. I would walk in the ring. I'd get beat down. I'd be on the ground. I would take every move. There's no bumps. I would just get pounded down, and I'd go on my knees and be done. And my finishing maneuver was called the D-Town Shuffle because I was booked from being from Detroit, and that means I got to run away and get counted out.
So you were like the anti-Goldberg.
Oh yeah. The anti-Goldberg is perfect. So Joe Brony, anti-Goldberg.
So you had a streak.
It's my streak. It was right down my back. It was yellow.
If I was the color commentator, that's what I would have said.
Oh man. So, but doing color was fun. That was a lot of fun. I got to call some pretty cool matches. You know, guys from the WWE would roll into EXW, and the dude that owned it was Derek Nykirk, and he got thrown out of the developmental for roiding too much. So he started his own promotion. You know, we were there. We had Val Venus on top for a while. He was the big champ. So much fun.
I love local wrestling.
Oh, it's great.
One of my favorite wrestling movies was based on big time wrestling here in Detroit from back in the day, called I Like to Hurt People.
I Like to Hurt People is genius. The Sheik produced and wrote that one.
I always thought it would have been a great idea for WWE to purchase that movie if the rights are still available, and when they had Sabu, to do a Stop the Sabu movement.
Oh, that would be great. That would have been great.
But
so if I'm going to think, like, my favorite wrestling movie is probably Grunt, the wrestling movie.
Grunt is great. I think you can actually watch that on Tubi right now.
Oh, I have to go.
And and Scorpion is going to be releasing it on Blu-ray at some point this year if they haven't already.
Yowza. There was one that, God, what was it? Roddy Piper's in it. Tonga Kid. Lou Albano. Oh, what is it?
I have no idea, but I have to see it.
It's a thing where they're trying to save a promotion. It's from the 80s. Why can't I remember this?
Let's look it up on the old Internet Movie Database.
Go on the IMDb.
Roddy Piper. I mean, technically the only movie he ever made was They Live.
And Hell Comes to Frogtown.
That's a great one too.
Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies.
I hated that movie, even though my boy Kurt Angle was in it. Yeah,
I interviewed with WWE once. I got to the final stages of getting on their writing staff, and they flew me out to the Titan Towers in Old Stamford, and I didn't get the job, obviously. But they were like, all right, so who would you like design the best storyline for? And I'm like, oh, Kurt Angle, period. And they didn't like that.
Why not?
Oh, I didn't get the job. I don't know why. They must not. Either that or I smelled or something.
Was the movie called Tag Team?
No. It's in the 80s.
That was in the brains behind the brawn? No, that was WWE.
No.
Good Lord. Buy and Sell? No. The Highwayman? Nope.
I'm going to get on my magic
Body Slam.
Body Slam, that's it.
I remember
How
that
did I not remember that?
So, real quick, so I would kill to work for WWE, and I messaged everybody on the writing staff, basically criticizing how shitty the shows were, and how
that's the best route.
and somebody actually messaged me back. They're like, "Thank you for your interest, but you shouldn't blah blah blah. Tell us how much our shows suck, and blah 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 blah. Thank you for wasting my time by reading your email." And I'm like, hey, at least you responded. And the ratings of your show agree with me. If you want to talk,
that's actually true.
If you want to talk, I'm available. I've never heard back from them.
I dig the AEW stuff. If you're keeping up with that,
I do too. I think their big match with the Elite versus I can't remember what Jericho's team is called now. The Winner Circle.
The Inner Circle.
Yeah, I thought their match that was fantastic.
Especially wonderful.
Every time Matt Hardy came out of the water, a different version of him.
It was. I mean, that's exactly what I think. That like professional wrestling, I think they're getting too close to MMA, and it's not that. The curtain's open. Everyone knows. So make it as fun and goofy as possible.
I think that's what was great about Impact when Matt Hardy was there with the broken mat gimmick.
Yep.
And it put them back on the map. And then when he went back to WWE and they kind of sort of tried to regurgitate it, it didn't work. But now it's something again, that his character is interesting, or whatever character he chooses to be at whatever time.
Right. I mean, I really dig his work. And I like Impact now, too. When I have time, I check it out. I just did Rhino's podcast last week. And it's I think they're doing a little solid job there. They're a little AEW light. They're a little goofy.
They lost me when Hogan came in.
Oh, that's years ago. Yeah.
And I came back a little bit for Matt Hardy's run, but I just don't care. I mean, I know the Good Brothers are there now, and Heath Slater, and I would have much rather have seen all those guys in AEW than Impact.
Yeah, I mean, I like it as an alternative, and I think they're trying to do some fun stuff, which is pretty cool. And the best part about Impact is that they don't really have anything to lose.
No,
they're right on Access. They have nothing to lose, so they're willing to try stuff.
The promotion I was enjoying before everything shut down was NWA Power.
That's a fun one with Nick Aldis on top.
I hope it comes back.
Yeah, I don't know. The AEW just signed Thunder Rosa,
but she is still the NWA Women's Champion.
Yeah,
and Ricky Starks is there too, and
yeah. So, if anything, I think we're going to see an absorption of NWA, and Billy Corgan will finally give up his wrestling dreams.
God, I hope not, because he co-produced a fun show.
Mm-hmm. Oh, NWA Power is great.
I mean, I loved Aaron Stevens' character. Don't look
you don't
at
find
me.
that often.
I enjoyed Damian Sandow.
So I like his character. The sidekick for that gimmick is so much better. The karate guy.
Oh, yes. Karate.
Karate. I love that guy. Whoever that is, I'm gonna book you for my birthday party. Karate.
I know who it is because he's also another wrestler on the show.
Who is it?
He was the guy who's also a professor in real life. He's one in the early days of the 10 pounds of gold. Oh, fuck. This is going to bug me. Yeah, they just put a mask on him. It's National Wrestling Alliance roster.
Yes.
We have anyone still watching us?
Us right now? No.
Oh, no. I think this is coming up. This will be airing eventually. Why?
Who can it be? This is good because I thought my wrestling trivia was near complete.
Well, you can buy the entire season of Power on DVD.
I can also watch the entire season of Power for free.
Yes. Why don't they have their roster on here?
Because they all left.
Did they? Did they all leave? Nick Aldis is still there.
Oh yeah, that's good. And so he'll probably. I mean, if he gets pulled in, I think that may be a good AEW thing.
He's tonight is the first thing of the whatchamacallit. Josephus. That was the guy. Josephus is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense now.
But tonight's the first night of Dave Marquez's United Wrestling thing, Tuesday night pay-per-view, and Aldis and Thunder Rosa are going to be involved with that as well.
Yeah, I think that the AEW contracts let them freelance other places too.
I think Thunder Rosa is going to be a friggin' star.
Oh yeah, she's great.
I enjoyed her. I think she was on Lucha Underground. She was.
Probably. There's so many people that were. I really want to see a redo of the Penta Phoenix feud from Lucha Underground.
That would be fucking awesome.
That was great.
Yeah. AEW, at least they're building new stars.
It's true. And I think that, I like Miro showing up. That's cool.
He is the best man.
It's Miro Day now.
No, it's Miro month.
Miro month.
You got to do it differently. You got to do it. It's the same but different. But I think you're going to see a lot more people try to get over. I believe AJ Styles will be in AEW sooner than later.
Maybe, if he can get that far. He thinks the earth is flat, so he may not make it.
Well, he is from Georgia or Florida, so.
Either way, they're next to each other. There's bleed over. Yeah, he'll probably end up there at some point. I fully expect Drew McIntyre to get sick of this and leave.
I think Randy Orton will go.
Ooh, think they'd have him?
Yes.
All right. I mean, I don't mind NXT, that product. That's a solid product.
I think it's gotten diluted since they moved to 2 hours from the 1 hour show.
Oh, true. Yeah.
But I'm a huge fan of Adam Cole, and as long as they keep him there, him and Roderick Strong and the rest of the team.
The Undisputed Era.
But
I was loving that Ciampa Gargano stuff over the past year. So good.
Probably the feud of this decade.
That not enough people saw.
I'm hoping now that WWE owns Evolve, that they are going to put all that shit out so you can see Gargano in some of his best matches.
Yeah, so they're doing a lot of stuff on the network with Evolve and WXW
and Progress and IC.
Yeah. Yep.
But
not to be confused with the Juggalo insane championship wrestling.
God, I hope that stuff never resurfaces. Though I did hear WWE owns XPW.
Really?
Yeah. I read that somewhere and I couldn't verify it, but I hope They put out the XPW stuff at some point.
Holy crap. So so Rob Black, let's talk about guys that went from porn and actually made something of themselves. Oh wait, let's not talk about Rob Black.
Come on, he owns a burger place in upstate New York.
Yeah, well, Hogan had a burger place and a pasta place.
Look, when I moved to Minneapolis, I went to the Mall of America to go to Hogan's pasta place just to find out it was closed.
and there you have it. That's an allegory for everything involving one's expectations of Hulk Hogan.
I have no expectations for Hulk Hogan. Because Hulk Hogan to me is a cheater, a liar,
Mm-hmm.
a racist.
So what do you think of Chris Hemsworth playing Hogan in the biopic?
I have not heard about this.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth is assigned to play Hulk Hogan in the biopic movie.
Who the fuck is producing that?
Probably Hogan. He's got a ton of money since he put whatever scandal sheet out of business.
Yeah, Gawker. Fuck. I want to hear Hemsworth try to go, let me tell you, brother.
Oh, and a British accent would be wonderful.
Oh, man, that's going to be a terrible movie.
Oh, it's going to be terrible. Have you watched Dark Side of the Ring?
I have.
I love it. It's got my two obsessions, true crime and wrestling.
I can't figure out what they're going to do for season 3.
Oh, there's so much. They're probably going to hit the indies at that point.
I don't think anyone would care. I mean, the Chris Benoit was brilliant.
Yeah, that was great.
The Gino Hernandez one was brilliant.
Dino Bravo. There's more tragedies out there.
Yeah.
It's wrestling.
Yeah.
The Von Erichs that's just a sad, sad story in general.
Yeah, that family was fucked.
My favorite episode is probably the New Jack episode.
I fucking hate New Jack so much.
Me too, but that episode, that was some crazy shit.
Oh, here was somebody who could have been great, but his problems prevented him from doing that.
They could do an episode on the Sheik.
That would be great. That would be awesome.
He legit got stabbed, and then people wanted to kill him.
He was one of the best heels in the business
ever.
I wish there was more of the Detroit stuff out there, because there's a few of it on YouTube, and
yeah,
I remember watching it when I was a kid. But
when I was getting into the Channel 50 stuff when I was a kid, and it was I think Chris Carter was on top.
Okay.
Of big time wrestling, because it would come on sandwiched between Dusty's Florida stuff, big time wrestling, and then maybe an NWA show or maybe a Mid-South show.
Oh, and they showed Florida up here?
Yeah, briefly.
And they showed Mid-South up here?
Yeah.
Huh. I knew they showed Mid-Atlantic out of Ann Arbor or somewhere here, because when the old WWE Classics on Demand thing, they would have the promos, and they had one of Dusty Rhodes cutting a promo for Ann Arbor, Michigan.
That's funny.
But
yeah, so I think they would just get the tapes in this show, because I think I remember Mid-South, and I think it was Florida, but I was waiting because I was watching Big Time, because they had Chris Carter on top, and a man known as Scott Recksteiner was doing a couple shots there.
Would he be the future genetic freak Scott Steiner?
Yes, he was Little Papa Pump when he was in Detroit.
That's awesome. So before we wrap this up, let's talk about video stores, because sure. I have a feeling that's where you and I discovered most of the movies that made us.
It's a magical place. Magical place.
What was your video store called?
My video store was called Grand River Video, I believe. And so I lived in Brighton when I was a kid, Brighton, Michigan. And I could walk to this video store, and it was a sleazy video store. I mean, it just was. Had everything and nothing all at the same time. And I was such a frequent visitor, they knew who I was. So I could come in with my parents' card and pretty much rent anything except from stuff in the beaded room that you always try to sneak a look at when you walk by, because it's the beaded room. But yeah, it's just scanning the covers of these things, and I discovered Bloodsucking Freaks there,
Oh, it's
which
a great movie.
it's wonderful. I actually hit Joel Reed up before he died recently because I heard there was a Bloodsucking Freaks 2 screenplay out there, and there is, that he wrote. And I'm like, hey, I would love to turn this into a graphic novel. I mean, I'm not going to make a movie. And he's like, all right, 10 grand. I'm like, Joel, you live in like an efficiency in New York, and there's no way we can make $10,000 from this. There's no way that we're going to make that money back. He's like, well, you can't have it. I'm like, well, yeah. And then he died. But yeah, that was there. Title, like covers like Razorback. Just discovering all the weirdo slasher stuff. That Prowler cover or the Mutilator. Oh my gosh, those covers were so good.
And that's why you rented it, because the covers were just like.
Yeah, I worked for a DVD distributor. It was a VHS distributor. It's the early 2000s. I went into DVD, and there were Total B movies. It was called Spectrum Films, or Dead Alive Productions was the horror division of it. And I was there. I was working in the mailroom, and I was a producer at the same time.
That makes
Imagine
sense.
this. It tracks. And the covers were everything. Covers were life.
Yeah, I mean, they had to be, because they knew who the audience was boys 13 to 20.
Yep.
Who were just going in there who were going there to get the new releases, which of course were never there. No. They're like, I'm going to get something. Oh.
So what's next?
I mean, that's how I discovered Fulci. If my mom knew what I was renting, fuck.
That's where I got the Toxic Avenger.
Me too. And
was there.
What else? I mean, Bloodsucking Freaks, which Vinegar Syndrome released a couple years back, and it's never looked better, and it kind of tarnished my memory of the shitty VHS.
Man. And God, there was so much stuff. So, of course, Extro and Extro 2. And that was still at Rental 10. I haven't seen that yet. I heard what was the guy from Airwolf was in that, isn't it?
I haven't watched it yet. I own it because I've subscribed to Vinegar Syndrome's yearly packages.
Oh, wow.
It came out in January this year, and that and Zombie Island Massacre, I think, came out in the same month.
Zombie Island Massacre.
Yeah, and this up until recently, this has been the year that I've been disappointed with most of Vinegar Syndrome's releases. And that's fine. I posted about it.
I'm trying to talk them into, like, right now. I'm saying, hey, I need a retrospective release of my anti-greatest hits.
if it was shot on film, they would do it.
Oh God, no. Maybe something. Yeah, there's a couple shot on film.
But they released a movie called The Caller. It was a Malcolm McDowell film.
Yep.
That I had never heard of, and it was on the same package they released Alphabet City, which I think is one of the best Vincent Spano movies ever.
I haven't seen that.
Imagine the movie Drive, but made with less money, an 80s new wave soundtrack, and Jamie Gertz from Square Pegs playing his hooker sister.
That sounds wonderful.
It's an amazing movie. You can watch. I think it's on Amazon Prime.
Awesome.
But they released The Caller, and people were saying good things about it. I'm like, all right, if this movie's good, I will be happy, and I'll probably give Vinegar Syndrome money for a package again next year. It's one of the few films where the ending surprised me, and it's like it was like an M. Night Shyamalan movie if he was a good filmmaker. And it was from Charles Brand's Empire Films.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll send you a link. You can watch you can watch the old VHS version on YouTube.
I would love to watch the old VHS version. I just did a YouTube rabbit hole. I had a memory from a child of Dracula in a white suit in a modern limousine. And I couldn't place it. I didn't know. And I thought maybe it's Frank Langella. He played Dracula. And then, no, that's a lush period piece that's absolutely gorgeous. And it turned out it was, Richard Lynch in a made-for-TV movie called Vampire.
I have never heard of it.
My internet minions track it down. So this made-for-TV stuff it's still tracking with me. There's if we had a sixth movie, I would add Dark Knight of the Scarecrow to that.
That's a fucking fantastic film.
Yeah, I got to spend a full day with the writer of that, sitting next to him at a convention. He only did a couple back in the day, and there was no one talking to him and no one talking to me because I'm nobody, and no one knew what Dark Knight of the Scarecrow was. And he talked about Bradbury and how story works, and we talked how that was a love story and how it worked. It was a masterclass in Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. I loved it.
It's a great film. Again, another film I discovered on videotape, just walking to the store. And it saddens me that besides Family Video, which for some reason still exists, there's only one real video store left in the area. It's over on Telegraph, I think, in the Dearborn area. And I'm pretty sure the only people who go there don't have internet because it seems like porn is their biggest seller.
Wow, that's sad. I mean, that is sad. I didn't rent Dark Knight. I saw it live.
Really?
When it aired, yeah.
That's incredible. I did not see it live when it aired.
Yeah, and it stuck. And then, and for years I would be saying, Bubba didn't do it. And no one knew what I was talking about because like 9 of us saw that movie.
Well, that was it CBS who aired it?
Yeah, that was CBS. And then they aired it one more time, I think, in 84.
Okay.
So it aired twice. I'm not sure which one I saw, though.
I think probably then I was still in my fear of scarecrows. I remember as a kid watching the Romney Marsh film that was on Disney with Patrick McGoohan.
Oh, yeah.
And that fucking scared me. If I was a filmmaker, that would be a movie I would totally remake.
That would be great.
It's technically Disney's first superhero.
Yeah, and it's a long-standing book series.
Oh, I didn't know
way
that.
Back in the day. Yeah, it's very old.
Yeah, the Scarecrow of Romney Marsh, and I guess we really don't talk about television shows on here. The Prisoner is probably the most influential series for me.
I would say for me, when I figured out what TV was, because up until then it was just a thing that you did, I would go probably the X-Files.
X-Files would have been great if Chris Carter had an overall plan for the series.
Yeah, I didn't mind because it wasn't so like now when you binge it, it doesn't work. If you try and watch.
No, it doesn't work.
Episode after episode. Waiting a week though, that was different.
Well, even then, it was like there were the Twilight Zone episodes, and then there were the mythology episodes.
Right.
And when I realized that he was trying to tell a story, I wanted the mythology more than the Twilight Zone episodes.
Oh yeah, and you waited for it. It was like back in the day when you saw Batwoman drive along the bottom of the Batman TV show, and you're like, yeah, Batgirl's here.
Yeah,
it's a mythology episode.
It was weird even then because we never really saw Batman in season order. We just saw whatever episodes after the two-parters.
Yeah.
So you would think Batgirl was throughout the entire run of that series when she was just in the last season.
Right. But it was sprinkled throughout due to the magic of television.
Yeah, television was awesome back then. I think it's still awesome. There's a lot of good shit on. But man, thank you so much for doing this. This has been
my pleasure.
When the world kind of sort of gets back to normal, we should definitely hang out because I would love to come raid your comic collection and steal your issue of House.
Come to the historic Howell Theater. We've got a very old movie theater here that runs some very cool things, so you can come visit.
Do they do comedy shows there?
I bet you our mutual friend Daryl Bean will be the first one to find out.
You know what? We should cut Daryl out. Sorry, Daryl.
I'm not gonna. You can headline. Daryl will open. I'll host.
I'm cutting Daryl out. I'm calling dibs on the Howell Theater. And what kind of movies do they show there?
All kinds of stuff. They get some new run stuff. Mostly it's older things. Lots of independent stuff. With the shutdown, they're doing a 10-car backlot drive-in, which has been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I worry about cinemas actually reopening.
Yeah.
Because I think until there's a vaccine, people are going to be too fearful to go.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing better than seeing a movie in a crowded theater And if it's a bad movie, people just making fun of it,
Oh, it's
or
wonderful.
or just the exhilaration of everyone there when it's a friggin' great movie.
I saw there on the big screen for the first time for me, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh wow.
And I brought the kid with. She's 15, and she saw it for the first time, and just she loved it. And I never noticed until I got to see it on the big screen that Doc has a nose ring.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. Huh. I'll have to rewatch it and just to check that out.
Very thin. It's right there.
One of my favorite theater going experiences happened several years ago. I was living in Kansas City, and there were tons of revival theaters there and art theaters. And one night, I can't remember the name of it. They were showing a double feature of the first Friday the 13th and the first Sleepaway Camp.
Oh.
And I was there with my buddy Al, with a wrestler friend named Mike Seidel, who you might know is the brother of Evan Bourne or Matt Seidel.
Yeah. I heard Seidel. I got that.
And his girlfriend. And my friend Al had never seen Friday the 13th before.
Oh, that's wonderful.
He was a little drunk, all right. They beat Jason's mom. All of a sudden, the girl's in the boat, and then young Freddie pops out. My friend Al screamed like Ned Flanders, which means he screamed like a girl.
That's awesome.
And then he was so drunk. We stayed for the second feature, and he had never seen Sleepaway Camp either.
Well, of course, if you haven't seen Friday the 13th, of course you haven't seen Sleepaway Camp.
And he once again screamed when he realized the killer was a girl.
Oh, that's so good.
And how the fuck did no one say the Crying Game stole that ending?
Probably because when the Crying Game came out, no one cared about Sleepaway Camp.
Everyone should have cared about Sleepaway.
They should have. Yeah, I did a movie called some romantic comedy with the boy lead in that one. I forgot what his name was. He has a band now. We're still friends on Facebook. He was Adam Sandler's NYU roommate. See where those paths diverged.
I thought Judd Apatow was his roommate.
Well, he told me it was him. Who knows? Maybe he was in the suites and they picked on him.
That would make sense. I would have hated to have been living anywhere near Adam Sandler or Judd Apatow, only because I would have been the weak link in the friendship. But I would have been a writer on Saturday Night Live and had a very prosperous film career if I stayed friends with them.
Quite possibly, but could you have lived with yourself and all those millions?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, yeah. if I made Grandma's Boy, I could have still lived with myself. All right. But once again, your book, Dial P for Peanuts, is coming out November. Order it. Where can people order it from?
You can go to my website, davidchayes.com, and it is on the first page right there, direct link to the pre-order from the publisher.
Is it available through Diamond or in-stock?
Yep. Oh, yep. It's available through Diamond and Preview, so you can go to your local comic shop and ask for it. The publisher is Source Point Press. While you're there, you can ask for all kinds of other cool graphic novels like The Final Bloody War of Colton Myers or Rotten Tail or Tranquility or any of the 14,000 other things that I've done via Diamond, and they will order that for you.
Or go to your local comic shop and force them to order it, and contact David through his website to see if he will do an in-store appearance.
And I will.
And he will. And join us again this Sunday for another live Sunday Night Fights, as we will be discussing the top 10 comic book adaptations. And I pray that no Avengers film will be in that top 10.
If you're going to have a top 10, I have to throw my hat in the ring there with Rotten Tail, 2019's greatest comic book adaptation, came out the same day as that Hellboy awfulness.
Oh, God.
And I wrote the movie. So you should all check it out. It's on Prime right now and Tubi.
And it's better to watch it on Prime because there'll be no commercials.
Not a one inside. No matter how much you'd want a commercial to break up the awful movie, you're not going to find one.
I will watch it before to see if it'll make my top 10, because I'm going to preface it. I am not a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's okay.
I practically loathe it.
I'm not quite loathing it. I think it's fun for what it is.
I think they have backed themselves into a huge corner, and the films aren't that good.
A lucrative corner, though.
Oh, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. I mean, Disney knows that Marvel will produce great intellectual property.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Like the upcoming Hellstorm series on Hulu, which weirdly enough has no Marvel branding on it.
Oh, it's just going to turn out like that Man-Thing movie, huh?
Oh, God. At least Hulu is many steps above made for sci-fi.
Yeah, but there's something to be said about a made-for-sci-fi movie. I mean, you know what you're getting into, and there's going to be a cast member from 90210 there somewhere. You just know.
Look, that was before the Sharknado saga. And
that's what I'll hook you up with Anthony Ferrante, the man behind Sharknado. Get him on here.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that. And I would love to pitch him my idea for a movie. It's kind of a sequel to Snakes on a Plane. It's called Rats on a Train.
That's awesome. I want Time Warner to finally pick up the Sharknado movies so I can have Aquaman controlling a Sharknado. That's where I want to go with it.
I would pay for that. Aquaman meets Sharknado.
We can make it happen. We could fan film it.
It would be like those kids who made the shot-by-shot video remake of Raiders.
But that was great.
I thought the documentary is good. I have not seen their actual film.
They did a really good job.
Good for them, but they could have actually done something original.
They could have. I'm a huge fan of comic book fan films, like the feature-length Spider-Mans from the 90s.
I have not seen any of those.
I'm going to send you some links. YouTube is a treasure trove.
One last question. Your thoughts on Turkish Star Wars?
Turkish Star Wars, Turkish anything is wonderful. My favorite, I love Turkish Star Wars. My favorite Turkish movie is Captain America and El Santo versus Spider-Man.
There's a Turkish El Santo?
There's a Turkish Captain America, a Turkish El Santo, and they fight a Turkish villainous Spider-Man.
I thought I knew film. I don't know film.
And that's why I'm the professor.
And on that note, we will see you Sunday, and then we will see you next week with another guest that I have yet to book for this. David, I will definitely have you on the actual Sunday Night Fights.
Awesome. I would love to be there.
And we will see everyone Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you.